I was always one move away from being homeless. Like not in like an idea or like it's like there is no backup plan here. And someone said this to me, they were like, you really just don't love yourself, do you? And it was such a profound thing, because it's not that I don't love myself, but I maybe don't understand what that means. And I wish less people were ashamed about it, because it's only in the last probably like 3 or 4 years that I've really gotten comfortable talking about it.
Meet Zaahirah Adam, founder of Hati, the dating app breaking swipe culture. From childline volunteer to strategy exec, she's rewriting the rules of modern love, one real connection at a time.
My parents were really violent, over and above what is normally culturally normal. And they also hadn't integrated into like British society. They would say things like, I was the cause of their divorce, I was called the devil, I was taken for like an exorcism. Yeah, no, it was bad, it was not good. They said the devil lived inside of, like, I was scared to share it, because I was like, well, if people know that this has happened to me, they're going to think it's my fault. So you've done the dating apps.
It's shit.
Hinge,
Yes.
Bumble,
Yes.
Tinder,
Yes.
The League.
No.
Okay, right. So basically, there's about 2,000 dating apps out there, right?
Like literally 2,000.
Yeah,
Like thousands.
there are thousands.
Oh my God. Okay.
It's a huge industry. And what's really interesting is
See, why do you think we have such a big problem these days to find a right partner?
I think we've made it way too complicated, right? Like if you think back to our parents' generation, the generation before, that's so complicated, but you were in a small community. There was very little travel. So you met someone and you kind of made it work. Like you weren't looking for this idea of perfection, because that wasn't what was on the table. So then you dated within your community. You typically dated a friend of a friend. That was kind of how it organically came about. We then had the rise of like globalization, the rise of social media, the rise of all of this stuff, where it's made relationships very transactional. And at the same time, you have a generation, and we're really the first generation that have grown up with divorced parents, right? So our concept of what a relationship is very complicated. And I think that's one bit that very few people touch on is, as a generation, we've had those big societal norms that our parents' generation and their generation before that had. They had structures, and they had, community, and they had this idea that you don't get divorced and you stay together. And you had a whole community that helped you when you got married, right? And like it was, you didn't just let your parents down, you let your extended family down. So there was all of that made finding the partner way easier. And then we had kind of what we have today, which is social media, and everyone, everyone's the perfect partner. And you see all of these couples, and you must see this all the time, where, especially when you were doing all the mental health stuff, like they look perfect on paper, and they're having all these amazing holidays, and they're getting flowers every day. And we've kind of distorted what it really means to find the perfect partner. I think finding the perfect partner isn't finding the perfect person, but it's finding someone that you want to go through life with. And that doesn't mean they have to be perfect or you have to be perfect, but you have to have like a base level of respect for each other. And I think that's gone down the drain a lot these days as well. It's very complicated.
No, I mean, complicated, but I can resonate with that on many levels. I come from an Indian background. So that was like, I mean, my mom and dad have separated. So I am the child of divorced parents as well, so I can relate.
First, but I assume your parents, or like they were probably one of the first couples to get divorced, right?
In the entire family. Like, I mean, it's not just, yes, I mean, I don't know any of my cousins or anyone in our family who has, but any of my cousins or my second cousins have divorced parents. It's just us. And my mom also stayed with my dad for, I would say, more than 15 years, simply because it was taboo. Like, you cannot get a divorce. Like what is the society gonna say? So I can relate on that on many levels.
Do you think that's impacted you in your relationships?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I'm not going to tell you my age, although, unfortunately, I'm not going to tell the viewers my age, but unfortunately, I've told you my age because today is my birthday and we did have that conversation. But yeah, 100%. I mean, I think maybe a little bit more obsessively when it comes to having a partner, because I never want to get divorced. I never want to have problems. But that is also not reality, because that is the innate nature of a relationship. But yeah, definitely it has affected me. However, I think so. We're 3 siblings. My youngest sister is married.
Okay.
I'm not married. The number 2 is also not married, and I think she also shares a similar thought process than mine, because we were older when we saw all the friction between my mum and my dad, and my youngest sister, I believe, didn't understand or comprehend as much as we did. So 100%. And I think, I think it's one of those as well, right? So your childhood programming really develops you into the adult that you become. So 100%. I'm sure there's a lot that we can talk about that as well, but we will come to that. However, talking about parents,
Yeah.
did your parents move to the UK, or your grandparents?
So it's my parents.
Okay.
Yeah. So my parents moved to the UK when they were about like in their mid-20s. So just before they had me. So I am technically second generation immigrant. They moved and then they got married here. But interested. So this is a relatively complex story in that I haven't spoken to them since I was about in the last decade. So yeah, or more than a decade now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can I ask you why?
Yeah, of course. That's what we're here for. I think the thing being and I think a lot of people will relate to this, when you're an immigrant, you straddle 2 very different societies often. And I think my parents moved here with this kind of belief that we would still grow up. My parents are from Mauritius, Muslim background, and they kind of moved here and assumed we would grow up to be, how my cousins were when they were growing up around all of their family, etc. And they culturally, and this is not all Mauritians, and I don't want to say that, but culturally they believe in beating your children and all that kind of stuff. And that was kind of my childhood experience, was you straddled these 2 worlds where my parents were really violent, and I think over and above what is normally culturally normal. And they also hadn't integrated into British society. So simple things like you couldn't go for a sleepover with your friends, or you couldn't be a normal child. They saw the things that we would probably associate with being British and having friends, but I wasn't allowed to have non-Muslim friends, which I'm growing up in London. We didn't. My dad fell out with all of his family that moved here, so we didn't even speak to them. So it became this very fictitious relationship. And I think so I left after my last A-levels, moved in with a friend, and yeah, that's kind of the story of the abridged version of my childhood.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry to hear that, but again, I think I can relate. So I'm also from a Muslim background, and I went through a similar childhood. I was really bad at school.
Okay.
I was horrible at school.
Just not hitting the grades, or
yeah, in
misbehaving
on every level. No, started from not hitting the grades, failing even pre-high school. It was just horrible. I really thought I was dumb. There was something wrong with me. My teachers and my mom definitely thought there was something wrong with me, and I would never make up for anything in life. I think it was a lack of ignorance. Obviously, society has changed today, but because of that, I took a lot of heat at home. My mom, so my dad is not educated, and she had a lot of problems with my dad, and he used to drink and women and whatever. So she thought, oh my God, this is another version of his father. And so I think in her own way, she was trying to mold me into another human being, which I wasn't. And yeah, I got a lot of beating at home. It was horrible. And I remember at one point, I hope my mom doesn't hear this, but at one point, she beat me so hard that so bad at one point that my neighbors had to intervene, and because there was blood on my face, and it was just horrible. Anyway, so
I'm really sorry that happened.
I know.
It's awful though, isn't it?
It is really awful. But I think, I'm glad the society has changed. But I think I think, at least we have come to a place where from a Muslim background to that episode, I remember it was, I think maybe 2 years ago, my mom actually sat me down, apologized to me,
That's
which was great.
yeah.
Because it was completely unexpected. But I think I'm maybe fortunate from a perspective where the religion aspect does not really come into play as much these days. And that episode happened with me and my mom. So I think it was very mature
Yeah.
way of her dealing with the situation.
Do you still speak to both your parents?
I still speak to both my parents. I mean, I've just taken it in a way that, okay, my dad is my dad. I mean, he's also brought me to this planet. So, okay, it is what it is. We're all aging every single day. And, how many more years do I have with him? So it's just one of those. But I think maybe the question back to you now, do you feel a void? Do you feel a void, or do you think there's anything that you've tried to do, make amends, will make amends?
I felt a void for a very, very long time. So I've been in and out of therapy since I was like 15 years old. And it's really interesting because a lot of people assume that the thing that's really hard is the physical stuff. And in the moment, it absolutely was. Like I used to have bruises all over my body, like you name it, like it was tough. But actually the thing that's hard in the aftermath, because the bruises fade, they go away, there's still some scars, but like that fades. But you go through every Christmas and every birthday and everyone goes home and, and like don't go home. I have no home other than the one I built for myself. And I typically, as all my friends will know, travel every Christmas because while everyone goes home to celebrate, like I have nowhere to go. And for many, many years, I saw that as like a massive, like it really triggered me. Whereas now I see it as like a massive opportunity, right? Like we get so many days off between Christmas and New Year and I get to go and travel the world and I've been to some amazing countries. And I think the void has gotten smaller with time. But I think I don't know how you felt when you were going through all of it, but I always felt like I couldn't understand why the two people that brought me into this world hated me so much. Like it's really hard mentally to sit there and go, the two people that are meant to love you the most in the world don't even like you as a person and want to hurt you. And I still remember to this day, my therapist said to me, he was like, right, they might not love you. But he was like, why do you equate that with being unlovable?
Mm.
He was like, you have so many friends. And so obviously you talk to your therapist about everything. He said, there are so many people in this world who love you. And you only care about these two people not loving you. Surely someone choosing to love you, strangers choosing to love you is more powerful. And I think that was a real, I've had hundreds of therapy sessions, but you remember very few of them. And that was one that really stuck out. So.
I didn't expect this conversation to go in this way, but okay, because I also have been through perhaps similar situation as you have.
Do you and your siblings talk about it?
Yeah, well, at times, I mean, I try and bring it up as much as possible because I just want to vocalize. I mean, we're in the mental health space. I need to practice what I preach as well. I've been into therapy for a very long time. Although my mom did apologize, I don't know if I've actually accepted the apology also. So I think it's one of those as well. Exactly what you just said. Oh my God, these two people who brought me into this world, why do they not like me? Like, or borderline hate me? Like what is the problem? And I think for me, for the longest period of time, it also stemmed from a place where, I mean, that's my mom, and mothers have unconditional love for their children. Maybe this is going to be a little bit politically incorrect statement, but I truly believe that even a mother's love has condition. So my opinion around that is, if I mean, yes, my mother did apologize, but there were a lot of things that changed as well. I was a different person. There was success. There were just too many elements.
Do you feel like she apologized? If you'd carried on like the trajectory that she, like if you hadn't had this super successful business and all of this, do you think she would have apologized?
I mean, in the nicest possible way, if I was a murderer and if I was in jail, I don't think she would have apologized
But if
because
you
it
were
was a
just
condition.
in a normal job, living a normal life,
Maybe. I don't know. And maybe we will never know.
yeah,
So it's one of those as well. And I think it's really important. And I'm also glad that the society has changed or changing.
yeah,
Because it's really important because we are the product
yeah,
of that abuse, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's important for people, for the younger parents now, to understand the importance of that and how, after so many years, we're total strangers. I never thought of having this conversation with you, and perhaps maybe even you. We thought this was going to be a business pod, but now we're doing borderline therapy. but the reality is, I mean, it never leaves you. It never leaves you. And I think fundamentally, parents have a duty. If you've brought these human beings on this planet, you have a fundamental duty towards these human beings, because that is going to mold them into the adults that they become. And that is how they're going to operate with other human beings that they interact with for the rest of their lives.
And I think I don't know about you, but I felt an incredible amount of shame for a long time around it. Like a huge amount of shame. Like I probably had a really severe drinking problem for a while, like to try and numb it for a long time, actually, probably. And that still triggers occasionally. So like sometimes I'll just, and there's like a real deep level of insecurity that's attached to it, right? Like, and someone said this to me, they're like, you really just don't love yourself, do you? And it was such a profound thing, because it's not that I don't love myself, but I maybe don't understand what that means. And I think that I wish more people would talk about it, because I think it's more common than we know. And I wish less people were ashamed about it, because it's only in the last probably like 3 or 4 years that I've really gotten comfortable talking about it. But it also gets weaponized against me, and people have weaponized it against me. So you also have to be careful.
I had a similar problem. I mean, I'm trying to be more, active and present and being more mindful about my health and all that. But I think throughout my 20s, early 30s, I was getting shit-faced every single weekend. Like, it was like just numbing my brain.
Yeah.
And I thought at that time, oh my God, I'm having the time of my life. Like, I want to get shit-faced because I'm so excited about life. But as you grow older, you start understanding the underlying issues. It's like, what the hell? Like why am I drinking like a maniac? Like what is wrong with me? But it's not what's wrong with me. It's, what wrong has happened to me, and hence why I'm here. But I think, you're so right. Vocalizing that. I mean, what is therapy? Therapy is talking. So
Yeah.
I think talking, and I think 2020, COVID brought a lot of bad. But I think underlining issue that the society has, we are sitting in a mental health epidemic.
Yeah.
What COVID did really was somehow change the narrative. A lot of people started vocalizing, and it has, the demand of the conversation from, around mental health has just exploded, and thankfully it continues to rise. But I still feel a lot of people in strongish positions should vocalize that even more. I'm glad you're doing that, because you are in that position. No,
I'm not sure I'm there yet.
it's I mean, yes, you are. From a lot of, I mean, there's too many things we'll go into it, but I'm glad you're talking about it, because it's also a very vulnerable position to be in. You're a woman founder. There's a lot of disparity between a male founder and a woman founder, from investors to people, you hire and so on. So you want to now position yourself, because, it's a man's world and men are the founders, and now there's a woman. So a woman has to pretend or act even stronger now. And now you're having this conversation, obviously is not putting you in that position. So that is why I'm saying it is actually I'm also grateful that you're having this conversation with me.
But I also, and I think that's why I was really ashamed of it for a long time, right? Because I don't know if you had the same thing, but I always felt like, because it happened to me, and I felt a lot of guilt about it, and I always felt like because obviously they would say things like I was the cause of their divorce, I was called the devil, I was taken for like an exorcism, like, yeah, no, it was bad, it was not good.
Wow.
They said the devil lived inside of like, and I think for a very long time I internalized that, and I was like, right, well then, and then I was scared to share it because I was like, well, if people know that this has happened to me, they're going to think it's my fault and they're going to blame me, and then like everyone's going to think I'm a terrible person. But I think it's stronger, and I really want to change this narrative to be vulnerable and be honest, because I think like the best leaders in the world don't have all the answers, and the best leaders in the world are not perfect 100 times. And I think there's this real inflection point in society right now where we're starting to acknowledge that. And I think one of the fastest ways to kill your company is to pretend like you are the golden source of truth for everything, and to not take feedback and to not take criticism and to not be vulnerable, right? Because in order to admit that you are not right 100% of the time, you have to be vulnerable to being wrong. So I think there is like a bit of a change that we need to have around like what is strong leadership. And I don't think it is someone who is, like the typical Elon Musk, Donald Trump, dare to say it. Like that to me isn't great leadership, right? Going in and just pretending you're better than everyone else. It's surrounding yourself with people who are better than you, but you can bring out the best in. Like they're the best leaders I've ever worked for.
That's such an important point and an important message, because the reality, and this for all the other founders as well, the reality is people also want leaders who have this thought process and who operate in this manner. You spoke about Elon Musk and you spoke about Donald Trump. A lot of people actually also do not want to work for people like them. So I think it's a great position to be in if you operate from that place. So hiring great talent and also hiring the right people. I mean, it also depends, what stage you're at and what you really want from life. But yeah, I mean, the more people I speak to, this is what I hear in our interview process. And yeah,
we spend so many hours of the day at work, right? Like you will probably you spend 5 out of 7 days, call it probably half of your life at work. While you're having holidays, childhood, whatever. You don't want to work somewhere that's going to make you miserable. And I think like we're also the first generation that's really standing up for that, right? Like we don't just see work as this thing we have to go and do and be miserable at. And I think that's one of the best things about the internet. Like people are now seeing there's other ways to build your life. You don't have to like go and have a corporate job and work a 9 to 5 and just put your head down. And yes, we will always have to have those jobs, but there is more possibility now. And that means I think that companies are really going to be challenged on their leadership, because why would you go to work for a narcissist? Why would you go to work for someone who's going to scream in your face when you have more optionality?
Yeah, no, absolutely. How is this young child navigating life? Because I've spoken to a lot of other immigrant founders as well, first generation, second generation, and obviously there's a struggle being an immigrant in any country. I mean, I can resonate from that perspective as well. I was raised in Dubai, but there's just a different nationalization process in the whole Middle East. So I was always an immigrant. I was always an expat immigrant. So, I mean, but at least those people had the family foundation, backing, support, or whatever. Now you also don't have that. So was that like a problem on top of a problem, or was it your experience was completely different?
I think you don't know what you don't know, right? So like
Fair point. Yeah.
when you're 18 and you're just trying to figure it out, you don't know what, like I knew what I was missing when I saw my friends with their parents, and I could see like, my friends' parents would like pick them up and look after them, and I go to my friend's parents' house, and I moved in with my friend and her parents, and like you see it and you go, oh, okay, that's what it's meant to be like, right? Like and to this day, my friends' parents always say like, if you ever need anything, you're like our child, like we've got you. But I think, so I'm not mad about what happened anymore. I'm actually incredibly grateful, because I think it builds you different, right? Like when you're 18 and you don't have like, it's not like I was 18 and had a nest egg or anything. I was 18 and there is, when founders are like, there is like, it's me or the streets. And what they really mean is it's me or I go back to my parents' house. It's me or the streets. Like that was for a very long time how I felt. Like I was always one move away from being homeless. Like not in like an idea or like it's like there is no backup plan here. But I think it builds you different, right? Like I had to secretly apply for a job at Apple while living at home and try and get my passport out of the house by claiming loads, like just so I could go and just even leave. And I think it's those bits that people don't realize. It's like you have to think like a 30-year-old and you're barely able to think like an 18-year-old. So you grow up very, very quickly in certain aspects, but you're incredibly immature in certain aspects. And I've always had friends that are older than me and they're like, but you seem so much older. And I'm like, in certain aspects, my emotional maturity is probably that of an 18-year-old still. But my ability to look after myself financially and navigate the world of work, I think was massively accelerated. So you have that kind of balancing act.
And do you think that has now enabled you to do what you do today?
Yeah, I do. I think like you're so much more comfortable in just not knowing shit. Like, you know, like what's being a founder like, right? You don't know what's going to hit you every day. You don't know what you don't know. And you just make it up as you go along. And like, that's what I've done with life. I'm like, oh God, is this the right move? I don't know. I'm just going to play a card and see what happens. And you just keep playing all these cards. And some are right and some are wrong, but you learn not to get so caught up on the wrong ones. Because like, I also think it gives you a superpower of nothing will ever hurt as much.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Wow. This is a deep conversation.
But you must feel the same, right?
Oh no. Yeah, for sure. 100%. I mean, like I said, I mean, your childhood programming really molds you into the adult you are. Now, I'm also actually very grateful. I'm actually grateful that I went through that experience. Because I wouldn't be the person that I am today if I didn't go through that. I'm really grateful for all the hurt, for all the pain that has made me the person I am today, because this journey is very painful. and this has really molded me and just made me that much more resilient.
But I think you can also tell when people have gone through it because the empathy they have for other people, like even in the way you do your podcast, right? The way I've seen you interact with your team and all the rest of it, there's a difference. And you can always tell that the kindest people in the world I've ever met have typically gone through the most. So
I don't remember the last time I was silent or had this long pause. Yeah, we should actually have a part 2 of this podcast, and it should be a different theme altogether. I really feel like I'm in a therapy session. No, but you know, I mean, you've left home, and you know, there's a lot of risk, so much at stake. How, in the right state of mind, do you think of starting a business? I'm going to come to what you maybe did before Hati, but I mean, you know, we said childhood programming as well. I mean, I would think, you know, so much risk. Now you want to play it safe. Now you want to have a foundation. Now you want to get a job, stability. That's what you want to do. I mean, how crazy do you have to be now to start a business? So, okay, what happened before that?
So I never wanted to be a founder. Okay. I take my hats off to people who just say they want to start a business. Like, I think those people are absolutely insane. Like, to just have the passion to start any business, like, and you don't care what the business is, that's a different breed of founder. Like, I'm not that breed of founder. I have a real passion for dating and that entire segment. And I think it does come from my childhood, right? Like, my parents hated each other and they hated us. And I think that was a whole complex thing. I think they resented having me and I was the first one. But not having that family, I always really craved having a partner because I was like, well, I'm less fussed about the kids aspect of it and all that. But like, I really want my version of a family, right? I want to do over. I want to do it right this time. And I want to almost like prove that like I can be loved and I can love someone else. And it's not this toxic association with what I've experienced to be, you know, that family love. And then I started dating.
Expectation versus reality.
Oh my God. Have you ever been on a dating app?
Oh my God. You know, okay. I promise you,
Yeah.
I envy you so much. And I'll tell you why. Because this is exactly what I wanted to do before I started Plum.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, it's so hard.
It's awful.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, there's a problem. We need to solve this problem. So anyway, I'm going to come to you a little bit more why I envy you, but please, yes, I have been through that process. It's shit.
So you've done the dating.
It's shit.
Hinge,
Yes.
Bumble,
Yes.
Tinder,
Yes.
The League.
No.
Okay, right. So basically, there's about 2,000 dating apps out there, right?
Like literally 2,000.
Yeah.
Like thousands.
There are thousands.
Oh my God. Okay.
And what's really interesting is they all. So the first ever dating app was like, a dating website. Tinder then gamified it by doing the swipe thing. But the fundamental concept of like a dating website app hasn't changed. Like, and it's not optimized for human connection. So I spent the last on and off 10 years going on dating apps. The first like 3 years were vaguely entertaining. Like you're young, you're like, this is new, and you're going on lots of dates, and it was kind of fun. And then they all hit the point where they need to monetize. And then you see the like consumer experience like drop off a cliff, right? So they then realize, that I've burnt a ton of VC cash. They've all been incubated by other dating apps, right? So Bumble was entirely incubated by Badoo. So it was wholly owned by Badoo. Or he put £10 million into her company. Tinder was incubated by Match Group. So like they're all parts of these other companies. And then they have to figure out how to make money from them, right? Because they do the freemium model to start with. And then when they figure out how to make money, so it took Tinder 2.5 years, Bumble 2.5 years, and Hinge 5.5 years to make money. And you see at that point, the user experience falls off a cliff. Because how do you make money on a dating app? Have you ever paid for a dating app?
No.
Promise?
Well, oh no, there we go. Oh, no, wait, yeah. I bought these add-ons. So because I was thinking, did I get like a subscription? No, but I bought some add-ons. Yeah, like you
Just
can
getting like roses.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I mean like more likes or something. Yeah.
Right. So they basically have to incentivize you to spend money. If you're having a great experience on a dating app, you're not going to want to spend money, are you? Like, if you're meeting great people and you're having a great time and you're meeting and you've met the person that you want to meet, you're not going to spend money on the dating app. So what they do is they train the algorithm for, the first 2 years. They figure out exactly who you like and exactly who likes you. Then to access those people, they put them either like Hinge does behind the rose gel. I'm sure you've seen it, where like, the standouts where you have to send them like a emoji rose thing. It's not real. So they charge you for that. Or what they do is charge typically men. So men typically pay for dating apps a lot more than women. And they can like super like people so that it gets to the top of the queue. So basically they're selling these men the dream that if they spend money, they will be able to access the type of woman they would want to date. But those types of women would typically not want to date them. So you get to this point where like the dating apps are trying to monetize everyone. They're not doing it very well. They typically monetize like 4 to 6% of their base. Everyone on dating apps is miserable. And it's just a complete disaster. And I remember, so I would download the dating apps, I would do them for a week, and then I'd delete them. And I was like, this, I cannot, this cycle has to end at some point. So I was going to go and get a matchmaker. Because I was like, there's loads around. So I spoke to a couple. I don't know if you've ever spoken to any. It's a big thing in like Asian.
Yeah.
So I don't. Have you ever spoken to a matchmaker?
Antissima.
Have you spoken to?
And you know what? No, just on Netflix.
I've not actually seen that.
Oh, you have? Oh, you should. Oh, it's hilarious. Yeah.
Okay.
You should see it. I mean, it's a real thing in the Asian communities anyway. Like you've got matchmakers, but also in London. I remember at one point.
Did you get headhunted?
I did actually.
Yeah.
I've got 2 or 3 people send me like DMs on LinkedIn. But I was speaking to one of my friends who is a woman, and she wanted to. She's again, it's like dating apps. It's just annoying and it's too much work or whatever. I'm like, why did you get a matchmaker? London's big on that as well, no?
Yeah, it's become a huge, huge industry. Do you know how much they charge?
No.
Yes.
1,000.
You think starting point is 1,000?
Am I high or low or 2,000? No. Well,
Keep going up.
really? No.
Yeah, up,
Really? 5,000?
up,
What? Come on.
up,
10,000?
up,
Come on. You must be joking.
up.
15?
Mhm.
What?
So I spoke to a couple, and there's loads in London. Starting price is typically like between 12 and 15.
Wow.
Guess how many months?
6? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Now, I'm not opposed to burning cash for like, if you say to me, £12,000 and we guarantee we'll find you someone,
Yeah.
fine,
Yeah.
right? Get me into a relationship, and then it's up to me, right?
Yeah.
Like, but get me in, no guarantees.
Really?
The only guarantee they'll make you is they'll send you on 1 date a month.
Oh, come on.
Do you know the most amount that you can pay for a matchmaker?
No. Oh my God. You're going to give me a stroke.
Okay, ballpark figure.
That's double. 30.
There's a matchmaker you can pay £1 million to.
What?
Mm-hmm. It's a huge industry, but so my background is operational consulting. So I worked in operational consulting, and we were a consultancy where we didn't get paid unless we proved the result. So we had to actually deliver it.
Mhm.
So that's been my whole mentality as an adult, right? Like, if you can't deliver a result, I'm not paying you. So I spoke to all these matchmakers, and they were like, we can, like, here are all our client testimonials. Like 90% of our people get into a relationship. Yeah. Okay. If you are so convinced that you can find me someone, bet you'll feel it.
Yeah. Charge me on success. Yeah.
And I just have this ingrained belief that you can't be that good at your job if you're not willing to bet it on the outcome. Because I think when you're really good at your job, you know that you can do that. So after speaking to a lot of them, I decided that I would rather burn my cash. So I was like, well, if I can't go to a matchmaker and outsource the problem, maybe I can fix it. So then I was watching Love is Blind. Please don't judge me.
Yeah.
So I was at a weak moment, and I was stood up on a date.
Sorry, I'm laughing.
Happens to the best of us. So we meant to go on a date that night, and we had confirmed the time and everything. So I messaged him in the morning, are we still on for this evening? Never heard back from him. So obviously I was going to put on some trash TV for the evening. But what was really interesting about have you ever watched it?
Yes, I have, yeah.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
you can't judge me if you're on the same.
No, I'm not.
So the whole premise for anyone that hasn't watched it is people fall in love never seeing each other, right? And it got me thinking about the way dating apps have been structured today. It's all visual, right? So like and they've made it inherently so. It's like the swipe culture of just, do you ever do this where you just go, yeah, no, and then you're like, oh crap, I missed someone that I could have liked, because you're just in this.
But then apps also have this, oh, you pay it, then you can undo. Or something. Yeah.
But they've made it into a game. Like they've literally gamified dating. And I thought the concept was really interesting, because none of the dating apps have really done anything like that, right? Because that's not their model. And then I went to bed, and I had I know everyone's gonna ask, but I literally had a flash of lightning. I was like, what if instead of doing it the way we've done it, and because my issue on dating apps is not getting matches, it's converting a match into a date. Seems to be the eternal misery of my life. Like, you get this high of like, oh, I've matched with someone I want to match with. And then on Bumble, you get the feeling of dread because the women used to have to make the first move. So I'd like be really funny, be like, I'm going to make some effort, and then get ignored, and then they'd disappear, and you're like... Or on Hinge, even worse, you get to see all the people that had ignored you. Delightful. And like, I just gave up on Tinder a long time ago. But I just feel like that funnel, and I think like I'm a business person, so like that funnel has not been optimized, right? If you're B2B right now, what's your sales conversion from like top of funnel through?
Oh, it's bad. But I think, yeah, we're sitting top of the funnel to actual close, but 7%.
your team get paid to do that, right?
Mhm.
You know, the conversion funnel on a dating app is worse than that.
Really?
Yeah. Now, bear in mind, your top of the funnel is you cold prospecting leads, right?
Oh, yeah. Like it's bad top of the funnel.
Yeah, no, right.
Yeah. So that is a warm intent-based top of the funnel. Like
And do you
we're
know-
talking about that.
Do you know how many of your matches, how many you'll go on a date with? 2 to 3%, if that.
Wow.
Do you know how many you talk to? 20%.
Oh my God.
Now, your sales team are being paid and they're getting better results. I am doing
All the work.
I'm doing unpaid labor.
Yeah.
And I'm getting nowhere. So I think I'm ops consultant by background. I think very logically about things. I'm like, how do you get the 20%? The biggest drop-off point, right, is your 80% being dropped off by, we've both decided we find each other attractive, to like having any form of like conversation. And they define like messaging each other, the 20%, as someone sending a text and someone getting a reply. So one set of communication. So I was like, let's bin this. No other dating app has completely removed the chat functionality. And I was like, that's where conversations go to die, right? Like when you're doing B2B sales, how quickly do you try and get someone on a meeting?
Yeah, I mean, well, it depends what stage are we at, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, it takes a while. Yeah.
But how quickly are you trying to get them onto a call?
Oh, like now, like this second.
When it comes to business, we recognize that when you capture their attention, like in the thing you're trying to drive to is a conversation, right? And the conversation you're trying to have is not over email. It's not over text. It's not over LinkedIn. You're trying to drive to getting someone on a call in every aspect of business, more or less. But in dating, we're just sitting like mugs, thinking that in the noisiest society we've ever lived in, right? Like, how many apps do you have on your phone?
Oh, I've lost count. I don't know. Like these days, I download an app, I even forget about it, even if I'm not using it. I don't even bother to delete.
But like, you have your work emails,
Yeah.
personal emails,
Mm-hmm.
personal Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
work Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
personal TikTok, I assume,
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn, LinkedIn, work. Like we're at 10 and we haven't even tried, you know, like WhatsApp, iMessage. Like you're getting messages 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you think a stranger that you don't even know yet is going to manage to break through the noise enough to be able to sustain this weird text-based conversation where you're having the same conversation over and over again. How's your weekend? Great. How's your day? Great.
Mm.
You're not emotionally invested in that person enough to continue the conversation. Like, even if you do get a funny message, 3 others going to come in after that. You'll forget that. You'll go on to... So that's where it kind of came from. Like, I'm a big phone call person, right? Like my friends joke all the time. If Z will reply in 5 to 7 working days, if she hasn't replied in 5 to 7 working days, the likelihood is you're never going to hear from her again.
Just owned you.
Yeah. I literally had one of my friends text me today being like, just checking, have you finally disowned me? I'm notoriously bad on text because I'll read it and be like, oh, I need to reply. And then something else will come in, like a work email will come in, that'll take priority. And then I'm walking the dog and then, you know, and then 3 other texts have come in. But if you call me, you'll get me every time.
You've got my attention.
Yeah, you've got my attention. And the likelihood is if I can't pick up, I will ring you at the next available moment because that sticks with me. That breaks the cycle, right? So that was kind of the whole concept is you are more attracted to someone's voice typically than you are to their looks. So I want, my big passion in life is human connection. Like my friends in my life, I think the lack of human connection I had growing up has really like driven me to like crave that. And I worry about where society is going. And I've had this worry for a very, very long time. And it's getting worse with AI. And I saw it at the advent of Instagram. So I had Instagram for the first couple of years and then I deleted my account very consciously. Because what I found was when I'd say, oh, have you seen X and X? And they'll be like, oh, yeah, I spoke to me the other day. And I was like, oh, how are they? They're like, I don't know. They just like my Instagram story. Great. Like,
that's quite sad, yeah.
But all of this, and I want to believe that Mark Zuckerberg didn't think this would be the trajectory when he built what he built. But I know, well, there's a lot of documentaries on the fact that he continued to build it in this way because for all the reasons, right? When I was 22, I went to Zimbabwe for 3 months to do aid work and set up like virtual HIV clinic, work in a school. There was no hot water. There was no electricity. There was no Wi-Fi. I lived in a concrete shack with nothing. Literally, I was sleeping on the floor. There was nothing other than a mosquito net. I was happier after the first 2 weeks where I was desperately unhappy and I just wanted someone to bring me a glass of wine and get me out of there. I was so much happier there than I've ever been in the UK.
Wow.
Because do you know what they did in the evenings? They sat and just talked to each other. No one locked their doors. No, there was someone died in the community and the whole community shut down. And they brought like cows and like it's pretty gruesome, but they sacrificed it. But there was a real sense of the thing that we've all lost in today's society, which was community and relationships. And like, yeah, maybe a yacht will make you happy, and maybe, you know, buying another Chanel handbag will make you happy. But you know what will make you long-term content is having a life full of people and purpose. And I think we're getting so far away from that. And I think AI is going to, I'm deeply worried about every time I talk to like anyone in like VC or tech and they're like, well, AI is the future. I'm like, there are some things we cannot outsource to AI, and the amount of companies now that are creating AI boyfriends and girlfriends and friends, and it's like that there's like AI robots that will it worries me because I think it will make people just lonely enough, just not lonely enough that they don't go and seek human connection. And actually there are so many studies now which is like loneliness actually impacts your genetic makeup.
Wow.
So like it's linked to like a lot of like long-term health conditions. It's worse for you than smoking a 20-pack a day.
Really?
It's one of the biggest issues that is facing society. And I think we're only now starting to talk about it. But the solution to loneliness is not AI. The solution to loneliness is not more social media. It is not more metaverses and time online. Like my huge passion is how do we get people back to that sense of like community and people and all of that. And I don't want Hattie to be a dating app long term. I want it to be a conglomerate of companies focused on human connection. And how do we use technology to really drive human connection, right? And not the idea of human connection, or not like, you know, just like fake human, but genuine human connection. Because if you speak to, there's loads of studies, if you speak to your friend for 8 minutes, once every couple of weeks, once a month, you will live longer, you'll be healthier, you'll be happier. And it's that, like, how do we get that back into our lives? So, sorry, that was a very long-winded, soliloquy.
But I enjoyed every moment of it. And again, you know, there's a lot of reflection, and I could resonate a lot as well. I mean, you know, COVID was interesting times, and I think a lot of people listening to this today are able to even resonate more than they would do pre-COVID, I feel, simply because COVID also gave that sense of reality, or that reality check where, you know, we were all lonely.
Yeah.
We were all just stuck in our homes, and human beings are social beings. Like, we're social beings. It's interesting how technology, video calls, Zoom calls have brought the world together. And it's great. I mean, technology is fantastic. I mean, if it wasn't for technology, we wouldn't be, our lives would not be as improved in whatever way, shape or form that it is today. However, exactly. And, you know, the whole mental health aspect to it as well, because obviously I'm in the space, you know, we're the most advanced society that we've ever been.
Other than if you believe that there were aliens that built like the pyramids in Egypt, you know, like,
that's it. That'll be our third attempt of podcast.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah, but I mean, we're the most advanced society that we've ever been, but we're also perhaps the most loneliest, the most anxious, the most stressed. And loneliness as well. We spoke about we have a mental health epidemic, but we also have a loneliness epidemic, and how loneliness impacts your mental health, and how that, again, correlates to the stress and anxiety and everything else. And, interestingly enough, we're the most connected, but we're also the most loneliest. Like, it's a paradox. It's crazy,
Because we have this semblance of connection, right? Like, just because you've got 10,000 Instagram followers or 10,000 friends on LinkedIn, like connections, they're not real. Like, like being able to watch each other's stories and know where each other's, that's not real. That's not real friendship, right? Like, real friendship is being able to ring someone on your darkest day and go, I've had a really crap day today. I don't need anything from you. I just need you to be there. Or it's like ringing a friend and being on the other end of the phone when they're crying. Or, it's like celebrating your business wins, right? Like, how much fun would that be without the people in your life?
Yeah. No, absolutely. So, okay, so you thought about the name Hati, first of all. Does that have a meaning?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm obsessed. So I'm a big literary fan. Like, I love reading. Like, my happy place, like, if one day I retire, I will do a lot of charity work and I will read every book known to man because I just love it. So my favorite author is F. Scott Fitzgerald. Okay. So when I got my dog, I was going to call my dog Fitzgerald. And then I was like, well, if I walk around the park calling my dog Fitzgerald, it's going to be a bit of a disaster. So then I was going to call him Hemingway. Also terrible idea. And so I finally stuck on Oscar Wilde.
Okay.
So then when I came up with a business idea, I was like, right, I'm going to call the business Wilde, and then I'll have Oscar Wilde and it'll be great. Happy families. And then someone I know from a club that I'm a part of was like, so you're going to make an intentional dating app called Wild? PR disaster number one. They were like, that doesn't. So I had to pivot the name. And I was in Bali at the time when we were pivoting the name. We came up with this long list. My friend was like, there were like, we were like apricot. And I was like, but what is it like? Why apricot? She was like, just write it on the list. I was like, right on the list. And then we had like duet and and like parley and all of this stuff. And then my friend was like, well, what about hati? And it means heart in Indonesian.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I went to get this tattoo, which means bebas. And it means, so like in Bali, when you're like stressed or anxious, they're like bebas, like be free. Like, let it go. Like, it's like this very like calming phrase that they say. And places that changed my life, I like to like commemorate in some way. So I went to get this, and the tattoo artist who was doing my tattoo had Hati written on his face.
No way.
And it was connected to a heart on his wrist where I was getting my tattoo.
Oh my God. Talk about the universe playing, mysterious games.
So I was like, well, there's no, I don't know. I think
if you wanted a sign, that was it.
Yeah. Why did you come up with plum?
Oh, my story is not as magical as yours.
There was no tattoo artist.
No. Yours is just too magical. I'm just thinking, can I top that? When I can't. Okay, well, the truth is, we were actually called Healing Clouds, and we pivoted. It was a different business model altogether, but then we pivoted into the B2B space. And when we're in B2C, we were, our prime audience, our ICP, were women. So the whole branding and everything else was just poised toward the women audience. And then when we moved to B2B, a lot of people are like, okay, listen, our demographics, we've got male, female, all the genders, whatever. So you need to be a little bit more neutral, not just feminine.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, should I need to rebrand? I need to just change the name, whatever. So I'm like, I want to get a single word rather than two words, because it should be easy. People should remember, and something that could potentially turn into a verb. Then I'm like, okay, look at all these big companies which are named after fruits. So I'm like, okay, so you have Apple, you've got mango, apple, mango, orange. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get a name of fruit, and then I'm like, okay, so which fruits help you with stress and anxiety? So plum actually helps reduce stress and anxiety.
Interesting.
But then when I tried to find a domain name, plum.com or like plum with a single M was not available. So in the true spirit of startup, I just added another M to plum. And there you have it.
A lot of names start like that, right? Because all of the domains are taken these days, right?
Exactly.
Finding a domain is next to impossible. So you just make stuff up.
Yeah. So Hati, great story, by the way. So you had this idea. How did you start? I mean, you had a background which has nothing to do with what you're doing now. Did you start alone? Do you have a team? I mean, how did
I didn't for 2.5 years.
Wow.
So I told my friend the idea, and she works in VC. She does like marketing for VCs. And she was like, this is a terrible idea. You have no USP. It's not going to work. You're not any different from the other dating apps, blah, blah. And I love, she's one of my best friends in the whole world, and I love her to pieces, but that broke me. Because I think I don't know about you when you first came up with your business, but the first couple of people you share it with, it's very impactful.
There's just too many similarities. But anyway, so the first person I shared the business idea was my ex-partner at that time. Well, my ex-fiance now. And she thought it was horrible. She's like, what are you even talking about? This is nonsense. And I'm like, great.
Yeah, thanks.
But then after that, I started speaking to a lot of friends and family.
Yeah.
And I think the one advice I give to myself and a lot of people who are starting businesses particularly, do not take advice from people who love you the most.
Interesting. Okay.
When you are asking them or when you're telling them you're going to take a risk.
Yeah.
Starting a business is risk. It's actually ludicrous.
Yeah.
So people who love you the most want to protect you.
Yeah.
They do not want you to fail. Do not want you to take a risk. So if you're going to do something ludicrous like that, do not ask your friends and family.
Yeah. To be fair, what I would also say is she wasn't the target audience, right? She met her partner on Tinder, I want to say 8-10 years ago now, really at the start of Tinder. So I think I agree with your advice. Actually, now you've said it, but I would also say don't take advice from people that aren't your target audience.
Also true. Yeah.
Because they don't. And I think that's also really interesting talking to VCs. They're not the target audience, so they don't get it. And I think that's that, and we'll come on to this probably, is the funding, the female versus male funding, all of that stuff. And I think that's a lot to do with it is, so came up with the idea. She told me it's a crap idea. I put it in a box for 2.5 years because I was like,
you sat on it for 2.5 years. Oh my God. Wow.
I didn't know the first thing about starting a business.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? I was 27 at the time. I didn't know the first thing about starting a business. I was like, she's told me it was a bad idea. She knows way more about this stuff than I do. I also don't have the Scoobiest where to start, right? I'm like, idea. Great. Perfect. It's not like your life where you go to school and then someone's like, well, go to uni. And you're like, okay, I'll follow that. And then you go to uni and they're like, so go and get a job. And you're like, okay, I can do that. And then they're like, so go and buy your property. I'm like, okay, I can do that. And then they're like, now get married. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can't do that. But the whole starting here, but there's no, okay, great, I have an idea, I need to build it. I'm not technical.
There's a blueprint. No.
I'm not, I don't know how to code. I don't know how things appear on my phone. It's a dark art that I really just didn't understand, despite the fact I've worked in consulting, banking for years, right? So I've always done project I've always straddled strategy ops. I've worked on tech projects. I can build a Jira board. I can do story points, but I'm not coding it. So then 2.5 years go on and I meet a couple of founders just by chance, right? By real chance. And I'm like, they're like, oh, so what do you do? Blah, blah. I'm like, this, but I have this idea and I start floating it. Just no, I'm like, yeah, I could never do what you do. They're all successful founders. So I'm like, but I would love to do this thing, but I don't know where to start. And obviously the thing about the founder community is they're very, very helpful. And I think founders, it's very, I don't know if you find this, but it's very hierarchical though. You have hierarchies of founders, and you have your Series A founders who don't talk to people. Trying not to get myself cancelled on this podcast, but you.
No, you're right though. You're right though. Yes.
And you have all these clubs that you can only
Yeah.
get into if you're anyway.
Mhm.
But most of them, if you catch them or you meet them organically in the wild, which you can do as well, are very, very helpful. So I got a couple of like recommendations for people to speak to. Some people were like, go on Fiverr and find some devs. So I went on Fiverr and like that was not good. And they were like, send us these things. I was like, don't know what this is. And this is like like ChatGPT being around, right? So like you're really in the dark. And then one of the founders sent me to this team who are an outsourced team. It's the team that he used when he first started building his company. And he was like, just go and have a conversation with them. So I went and had a conversation with him. I was like, look, I made a deck and I was really proud of my deck. And if I showed you my deck, you'd be like, anyway, I showed him my deck and I was like, this is my vision. I was like, we're going to fix dating once and for all. It's going to be 100% like voice-based, blah, blah. And I could like rationalize around how you made the app. The thing that I couldn't work out is how you get the app to automatically call both parties at the said time. It's like that technology I've never really come across, right? It's not like, when do you ever need a system that will call? But like even Google Meets, right? You all join Google Meets. But I was like, I want there to be as little friction as possible because the moment you put friction in, people, and I really want it. And he was like, it'd be a lot easier if we can. Now I was like, no, this is the one thing I'm staying. Anyway, sent him my deck. A week later, he came back with like a full tech spec. I was like, well, okay, I'm going to go through this. And then I went through it bit by bit and I was like, yeah, I don't like this. I don't like this. This needs to change, but kind of pieced it all together. And then he gave me a quote and I was like, great. So I've self-funded the business.
Oh, wow.
So in a moment, so I was like, I could either pay for a matchmaker or I could take the money I would spend on a matchmaker. Because I think with the matchmaker, I wasn't opposed to paying the money. I was opposed to the lack of accountability on their end of like the result. So I took that money and I invested it in the business.
Amazing.
Because, and I will be honest, I didn't know how to raise money. And I think that I didn't have the confidence to figure it out either. I was like, there is way too much going on. And I was put off by what my friend said, which is like VCs don't back dating apps. And that is true. And also, I don't know what your experience of raising is, but it's incredibly closed off.
Yeah, I mean, we've raised a couple of rounds. So I've done, I started the company bootstrapped as well. So it was my own money. And then we did 1, 2, 3 angel rounds through crowdfunding. Then I've done a private equity. I've done a Series A, VC. I hope I'm not in that hierarchy. You can speak to me anytime. Anyone listening to the pod.
I'm going to hold you up.
We're actually doing yet another post Series A now. Currently, the round is also open. But yeah, I mean, I think raising funds is just hard, period. I mean, you call it closed off, or there's disparity between women founders or, minority founders.
Less than 2%.
Correct. I have a thought process around that though. But because I want you to continue on that, and then we come on the funding. But yeah, I've raised half. Yeah, I've been through that nightmare a couple of times.
But even to this day, right? Like I would consider myself relatively like I can figure most things out. I can't figure out the raising game. It's this black, especially I think there's a disparity between what they say on the internet and like what actually the terms mean, right? So pre-seed, what does it mean?
Okay, so the terminology, in all honesty, in my opinion, does not mean anything.
Right.
Pre-seed is a label that you've just put for the sake, because your pre-seed could be my Series A, my Series A could be your pre-seed, if that makes sense.
It doesn't make any sense. There's no rules.
Exactly. Valuation, there's no rules. How much money you actually absolutely need? Yes, there's some Excel sheet that you're working off the back of, projections and whatever. But really, it is 2 parties come together, and whatever they decide collectively becomes the rule for that organization.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And every country also changes. So, I mean, in the UK, a pre-seed and the valuation of a pre-seed and how much money you get on a pre-seed is different from the US, different from Dubai, and so on.
But I also think it's changed massively in the last couple of years as well. I think and this is anecdotal from like speaking to people, but I think it's gotten harder. I think more people have gotten burned.
Oh, 100%. I mean, if you just the last 2 years, essentially the last 2 years, right? So what happened? COVID changed us, changed humanity forever. One of the things was, higher, like ludicrous valuations. So obviously everything went digital and things I mean, there was just exponential growth. 2 years ago, the market dipped again. A lot of VCs burnt money. And a lot of founders burnt money. So like everybody just got burnt. And now the risk appetite had just tremendously dropped. And obviously, we have a lot of conversation around, how the risk appetite in Europe is less than risk appetite in the US, for example. But overall, I think the risk appetite has just reduced.
Yeah.
So because you see,
when look at your AI B2B SaaS.
A lot more people need to hear this podcast because we're AI B2B SaaS in the HR space. Yes. And we've got AI agents now, but
it's not bingo right now, right?
But it's reality. Yes. So I think.
Whereas a couple of years ago, it's crypto. Put crypto on anything, and
yeah. I mean, there was blockchain, crypto, AI.
Remember when metaverse was a thing?
Exactly. So, well, yeah, I know. I was thinking about it 2 days ago as well. Facebook changed to Meta. Fantastic. Well, anyway. But yeah, I think the risk appetite has reduced. I think it's 2 years ago, and we've seen all these bubbles being burst. Yeah. And I think now, if you look at VCs as well, I mean, I really don't think. I mean, if I was on the other side of the table, I would also be more worried.
Yeah.
Because oh my God, like I've placed all these bets, and anywhere I'm working on a premise where 80-20 rule, more or less, 80% of my bets are going to fail, and then 20%, yes, I will then maximize and cover up. But oh my God, shit! Like 100% of my bets have failed. So my LPs are screaming down my throat, and I'm just. I mean, it's just harder. Like my job has also become harder. But I think raising from your perspective or from our perspective, for me, I just have. I try and not look at the stats. I try and not read the news. I think it just helps me because these are external factors which I cannot control. The only thing I can control is me. So I just put my head down and I just tell myself, listen, raising is difficult, period. Even for a white man, raising is difficult. It's not easy. You cannot just be a white man, walk up with a deck and raise money. It's impossible. Okay?
It depends who your dad knows.
Yes, but again, if you also true, but maybe
your network has a huge amount to do with it.
100%. But for some part, because you see there's too much noise.
Yeah.
If you backtrack a couple of years ago, maybe that was a reality more so than it's a reality today. Because the barrier to entry is almost nil.
Yeah.
There's no barrier to entry. I mean, the access we have today, everyone in any part of the world has access to. I mean, and age also does not matter. Education does not matter anymore. So the barrier to entry is so low that there's so much noise. So yes, that of course your network is important, but things have dramatically changed. I think so.
I would say your network is probably the most important thing though.
Well, but if I don't have a network, what do I do?
Yeah.
So what I'm also trying to, this is what I tell myself every single day. I came to this country without a network.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and every single time, and again, I'm not a woman. That's a different pain point altogether. But
try being a woman and dating, talking.
And no, because I actually want to talk about that.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times when I was speaking to a lot of men who look like me, the first thing they said was, "Oh my God, the minority community, you're not." So if I was a woman, I would have that type of conversation. In this, I was having this type of conversations. Oh no, you're not a white man. It's going to be very challenging. So this is just shit. And this game is rigged and whatever. And I'm like, oh shit. And the first couple of weeks, I was like, oh yeah, shit, this game is rigged. And it's just so shit. And then I'm like, wait, hold on. Raising is already hard.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to think about all these, read these stats, think about this every single day. I'm just going to make it harder for myself.
Do you think
I chose to ignore that noise.
But do you think warm intros make a difference?
Sorry?
Do you think warm intros versus applying?
Oh, 100%. I think what I did, so this first institutional round that we did was, I mean, they reached out to us. Actually, sorry, we reached out to them because we wanted to sell our product to them. They saw our product and they're like, oh my God, we love your product. We're private equity, and then the rest is history. The second time around, we actually got a consultant on board.
Okay.
We worked with PwC.
Interesting.
So maybe that's another route. We can obviously take this offline as well. But we work with PwC. We will be getting another consultant on board this time around.
And they lead
And
your
that
way.
was So they worked alongside us for the raise.
Interesting.
And one of the reasons, or the biggest value really, was that warm intro. You had the stamp or the approval of PwC. Actually, that's a good point. I mean, I'm just thinking about it now. I mean, if I were to advise someone now trying to raise, I would say, because there's so PwC, Deloitte, KPMG. I don't know if EY is in the mix as well, but depending on the stage that you're at, they all have this service.
Did not even know that.
All of them have this service, and they charge on success.
I love that.
So
we know from me, I just like an outcome.
It is top dollar.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, it's a cost of raising money.
Percentage? Is it 30%?
Yeah, well, I would say roughly about 5%.
Okay. It's actually not bad.
Yeah. And plus
Someone tried to sell me their services for 15% the other day.
No, 5%. Oh, you negotiate. But 5%, I would say, and also depending, I mean, also there's negotiation on top of it. I also would encourage people to negotiate deal terms with any consultant, where is it me bringing the money or you're bringing the money? If it's through your intro that I've closed the deal, but if a part of it has come from my own network, then I'm not going to pay you money for that. But I think it's not just limited to that. They also help you with your deck and with your pitch and with your financial modeling and with all that. Of course, you have to do the work.
Yeah.
They have a whole team doing it, So they also work for their money, which I think is brilliant. So that's something that you can explore, and I can, obviously, give you some warm intros from that perspective as well.
But I also think it's been fun bootstrapping it in a way. Like,
so you've not raised until now, no?
No, so I've had a small friends and family now, which I still haven't spent, but it's been really fun. So I always promised my friends and family I'd pay for the full tech myself. And then we did like a small one, which I'm going to use for marketing. But I think and I think about this a lot, had I been given a lot of money to start with, I probably wouldn't have got as scrappy as I have. And so I'm social media novice, right, doing this. And obviously trying to launch a dating app, you need users, right? Your whole thing is users. So I had to download TikTok for the first time.
How did that go?
I remember ringing my friend and being like, what dystopian hell is this, where every video is just people dancing in what seems to be their underwear in a very lunatic type of, like, I didn't understand it, right? Because obviously once you use TikTok for long enough, your algorithm changes.
Yeah.
I get very like dating related stuff, and I don't get naked people dancing in their kitchen, thank God, because I was wondering, I was like, no wonder society's gone haywire. So this is what we're watching. But we now have over 4,500 users all through organic TikTok.
Amazing. Oh, wow.
Like, they're not all in London, which is
Sure.
the downside of organic, right? Is you don't get to pick where your users are from. But from going from someone who's never had a social media account other than my Instagram years and years and years ago, to having like multiple semi-viral videos, like 250k plus views, it's been really fun figuring out. Like, I even had a semi-viral LinkedIn the other day. We made a fake LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn have now taken her down, but listed her experience as like at other dating apps. So it was like the serial ghoster at Bumble, and like, the serial swiper at Tinder, and like taking I think it really forces you to do marketing in a more creative way. Then LinkedIn shut you down for being creative. But
that is the post where I got to know Hati, by the way.
Really? No way.
And then I read your comments, and then that's when I went into that rabbit hole, and I'm like, oh my God, I envy this woman, because this is exactly what I really wanted to get in that space.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh my God, thank God somebody's doing it.
But I think it's really interesting so I'm not a marketing guru at all. I've never done marketing in my life. But the thing I've learned through doing this and through doing it bootstrap, right? So you can't just throw money at ads, which I think like I probably would have gone down had someone given me money. Was marketing is just talking to people.
Yeah.
And it's really, really easy when the people you're talking to are you. And that's all that LinkedIn profile was, right? It was my experience on other dating apps personified into a human. And
It was quite funny though. I think it was genius.
But I know until LinkedIn, I mean, like LinkedIn need to have a sense of humor. My argument to them was that
I can't believe that what doesn't make sense. But anyway,
I think people complained about her.
But why though? It was so funny.
Because so someone wrote in the comments, they were like, "You've broken LinkedIn's T's and C's because fake like," and I'm like, the amount of people now using AI on LinkedIn. I don't know if you've noticed this, but like, the amount of like AI generated. I'm like, I'm actually a person behind this account.
But isn't Brody? You must have seen Brody. Sorry,
I think Brody's phenomenal. But, yeah.
I think so too. And I was like, oh shit, maybe Hati should have a combination of Brody. But anyway,
yeah. That's one thing that we want to do.
But aren't they doing something similar, or is it because they had like a company page?
They have a company page.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. But I think the Hattie Love profile was funny because she had like career experience.
Yeah. That was epic. That was epic.
But I think it forces you to be more creative and have more fun with it. And I think when I first started working on Hattie, I was just anxious all the time. I had the worst imposter syndrome of my life. The first 3 months, I hated every moment of the journey. I wanted to quit basically every day. It made me so anxious and I was not in a good place. And I think over the last couple of months, I've really grown into it and like having fun with it. And it being this thing that allows me to unleash like a different side of me. And also I think we get so caught up on, you know, it's going to fail and it's going to be a disaster and all of this stuff. Or like, you know, like you're scared to put out a campaign because what if it bombs? So what? Do you know what? No one's going to know about it. That's the best thing. It's like, I got no views. Well, no one saw it, right? Like,
that's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Like, it's not like, I think a lot of us and myself, like, my biggest fear was failing. And it was like, all my friends are going to laugh at me if this goes wrong. And I'm just going to be the laughing stock of everyone because I tried something and it didn't work. But I think the only person that would ever laugh at you in that situation is someone who didn't even have the courage to do it themselves. Because like, to even try at this, I've said to my friend, you have to be utterly insane. You have to like, there's I don't know if you've seen the Robbie Williams acceptance video.
No, I haven't.
So he does this acceptance video for this new movie he did. And he was like, I just want to thank my ADHD, my low self-worth, my absolute lack of self-awareness, my but it's, you have to have some level of complete insanity to risk your really nice 9-to-5 because do you know what I hate? It's the LinkedIn people who are like, if you want freedom, start your own business.
Oh my God. That's like the worst advice.
Ever.
That's the worst advice.
If you want freedom, have a 9-to-5 that gives you a really solid paycheck. Turn up at 9, leave at 5. That is freedom. Having a company is the least amount of freedom I have ever had in my life. It's all you think about. It's all you care about. You don't set the hours you work. You just work until you burn out and then you go again. So people are like, just start your own company and then you will get to like run around and live on a beach. I'm like, you're joking, right? Like, if you're going to run your company like that, you won't have a company.
No, it's impossible. No.
You're how many years into Plum?
You're 7 years now.
Do you pick your hours you work?
Nope. 7 days a week. 7 years.
7 days a week, 7 years. It's probably going to be like that for how much longer?
Yeah. But I mean, you can see that's social media. Social media romanticizes, you know, the whole startup world, but really it's expectation versus reality. By no means am I saying do not start a business.
No.
I think more and more people should because there's a lot of gain and positive that comes out of it. You're creating jobs and impact and all that. But really, really assess the situation. I highly suggest people actually working for a startup. You know, working, if you can, possibly close to the C-suite as much as possible. Just understand, just give yourself a half decent chance to win at this because the success rate is bad.
It's so bad. But I think I've changed what it means to be successful at this now. Yes, I would love a huge company and I want to take my company public. But for me, success, I've already been successful in this because I've learned more in the last year than I have learned my entire career. And that's a lot of years of a career in like quite a difficult field. It's starting a startup doesn't give you freedom, but it gives you the freedom to build the thing that you really want and you really believe should exist in the world.
Yeah.
And it gives you the freedom to design a world that you want to live in. And I think that is the freedom that people don't talk about in the Instagram post. But that passion that you feel for that thing that you have created, it's like how I imagine heroin would feel. Like, but it's like this. I wouldn't put myself through this, and this is why I take my hats off to anyone that just wants to start a company, because I wouldn't put myself through this if the passion I had for fixing this problem wasn't there.
Yeah. I mean, I've been asked this question so many times. Oh, did you know how difficult this journey would be? I was like, oh, fuck. No. If I knew how difficult this journey would be, I probably wouldn't have started.
Really?
But I'm also glad that I didn't.
Why wouldn't you?
Because I wouldn't have changed another thing. 'Cause, I mean, it's just so difficult. So just understanding, just because it's so difficult, I wouldn't have started. But I'm also glad that I didn't know, because I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
I think purpose is really important, and I think your purpose behind you starting this company. Obviously, it was nice to talk about your childhood, and I think, again, the correlation. And I'm thinking, shit, why did I want to start a dating app? Maybe this is why I wanted to start a dating app as well. It's just that human connection, because I lack that human connection. So I think, sometimes
That's why you started the podcast, right?
That's why I started the podcast as well, because I came here. I was just lonely. I was lonely. I wanted to connect with like-minded people who shared my life experience. So.
Has it made you more? Has it given you what you expected? The podcast?
Oh, it's giving me what I expected and then some. Yeah, and I think this is just the beginning. So it's also like somehow like a part-time job on top of my full-time job. So it's not easy. Creating content in general.
Why did you start the company?
I started the company because of my own personal struggles with mental health.
Okay.
So I've actually been an entrepreneur since I'm 17. My first business was legit business, not selling lemonade, but legit business was when I was 17.
Did you sell lemonade as well?
I wish I did, but I didn't. I was actually in online gaming.
No way.
My first investor was my uncle. I made a business plan, financial projection, convinced him to invest, gave him 50% equity in the company. Ran that for about 3 years, extremely profitable, expanded the business. But then my parents stepped in because I left school. And yeah, they just thought it was bad for me. Because I had no, we had to sell the business. They just sold the business.
Did you make a tidy sum though from selling the business?
No, they just took it all away. Well, and it's just family dynamics and whatever. It was just that they just thought I was going in the wrong direction because I was making money, and I just thought,
isn't that what they wanted you to do?
I didn't understand the point of going to school, because I was making more money than my teachers and a lot of people around me, including my parents. I'm like, I'm going in the right direction. But anyways,
they wanted you to be, let me guess, a doctor, an accountant. Yeah,
of course,
lawyer,
engineer, lawyer, and I'm like, oh my god, like I can't finish high school, let alone an engineering degree.
So you always wanted to be an entrepreneur?
I mean, that's all I knew, simply because I didn't have education, and I was thinking, oh my god, who's going to employ me? So and I came from a very humble beginning. My uncle was super rich and we were super poor. So I'm like, oh shit, like the only way to do something, the only way to make money was to hustle and just do something by myself.
Was he an entrepreneur?
Yeah, he's a seasoned entrepreneur. Like, I mean, and that's why he wanted me to get into that direction as well.
So was he your inspiration then?
So he was definitely my inspiration. He's the most successful person I knew back then in my entire family, and again, self-made, which is like, oh my god, like this is the man I want to become when I grow up. Since then, dabbled into many different businesses. I was in the property sector for a very long time as well. I invested a lot of money and I lost a lot of money. So 2016, I went into a really, really dark place, to an extent like I wanted to take my own life. I remember standing in a balcony, picturing my fall, and I was just too scared. I'm scared of heights. So I was just too scared. So I'm like, oh, shit, I can't do this today. So I come back the next day. And I look at the balcony and I'm just picturing my fall even more so, because now I did that yesterday and I'm doing it again. I'm like, oh shit, this is just too scary. The third day, I'm picturing my fall again. I'm like, okay, this needs to stop. Either I do it or I change my life. Thank God I took the other option.
That's a really scary place to be.
Yeah. But then, you know, what I also realized when I came out of that headspace, I believe I was fortunate because my mom also went through depression because of her failed marriage and so on. But then I saw her changing her life around. She started seeking therapy. She didn't stop there. She became a therapist herself.
No way.
Yeah, so I had that experience from my mom.
Was that in line with when she apologized, interestingly?
That was after, yeah. I mean, many years after, because obviously this is the line of work she's in and she understands the power of it and so on. So I saw both the negatives and positives. And I believe I was fortunate. I had experience. So I'm like, okay, you know, I need to take care of my own mental health. When I came out of that headspace, I started speaking to a lot of people, friends, and then peers, most of them men. And what I started realizing was, I'm like, oh my God, like I could see the underlying problem because, you know, I mean, stress and anxiety apparently is a part of life and you just deal with it. But I'm like, oh.
And yet we're sold when we're kids that life is meant to be easy.
Exactly.
Every Disney movie, and I think that has a huge amount to play in this, right? Like when we're kids, we get told that life should be easy.
Yeah. But I mean, it's quite the opposite. But I also believe it's not supposed to be easy. I think nothing great comes out of the easy things that you do. So I think it's a trade-off. But anyway, so I spoke to a lot of friends and peers, most of them men. And what I started realizing is if anyone at that time when I had these thoughts spoke to me, I would also have a similar reaction. Oh, I'm okay. I'm just stressed, just anxious, you know? And I was like, oh shit. Like, I mean, there's a lot of underlying problem. What if this person takes their life or that person takes their life? And I love these people. And I think especially when it comes to mental health, you know, men have the bigger, if you look at the suicide rates, right? So it's mostly men because men don't talk and, you know, you're a man, you should man up and boys don't cry and all that. We're also fed, you know, boys are fed this as you're growing up. So I'm like, oh shit.
I also think they have less social circles, right? So like men don't cry, but also men don't typically have that strength of network that women have.
I think, I don't know if it's a lack of social circle. I think it's the programming within the circle. So if 5 guys are talking together, we're not gonna talk about mental health.
I've always been curious.
Yeah, we're not gonna
talk about when I hang out.
Women.
No, but like what?
It's not.
Honestly, I've said this to so many of my guy friends. I'm like, you guys don't. I remember one of my friends, her husband, weirdly went to uni with someone I was working with, and that guy had gone through a breakup. And I was talking to Hassan, who's my friend's husband, and I was like, oh, have you caught up with my friend? Blah blah. He's broken up with his girlfriend. He was like, since when did he have a girlfriend? And I was like, what? I was like, what do you talk about?
Yeah. No. It is definitely a problem, and that's why day to another you say, oh my God, everything was okay, and then you know he's taken his life. Like I mean, but it was never okay. It's just that we don't vocalize, and I think that's a systemic problem as well, and that's why I'm like, you know, I also had to fix this problem. So I'm like, okay, that's why.
But do you not think it is the lack of friends as well, right? Because like, if you look at the data around like the average number of friends a man has versus a woman, it's very different. I mean, neither of them are great. But also, if you look at like men, typically have like friends from like sports clubs, so like, and then they grow up and they kind of lose those friends. And I don't think men make friends as easily as they get older. So I think what you're saying is right. It's the lack of talking about their feelings and that being okay. But the loneliness epidemic is also more is hitting men harder than women, right?
Yeah, I think again it comes back to how I think we were talking about this as well, just before we started the pod, how the power dynamics have all changed, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's harder on different levels as well. So I mean, maybe you can add to that as well. But I think because the power dynamics have changed, it's just harder for a man.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't know what your perspective is.
Did you start it just for men, or did you start it more generally?
Oh no, it was the complete opposite. Because I'm like, okay, wait, this is also a business. If in all honesty, this is also a business. It has to make money. Only when a business makes money am I able to serve and help people. So, okay, who are the ICP, your prime ICP audience are women. Because men anyway have a problem. They don't talk. I'm not going to be able to sell this to men. But if I can get more women in, again, an 80-20 split. Okay, so 20% of the men I can help because, the revenue has been generated by women. But then again, I soon realized how difficult it is to sell a standalone mental health service. Again, from a cost element, therapy is expensive. And that is why a lot of people have actually not gone into therapy, because it's easier to have 3 pints of beer and drown that anxiety and stress, numb your brain, versus going to therapy.
It's also incredibly hard to find, right? Like, I've been in and out of therapy for years, but finding a therapist that you trust or get on with is hard.
Yeah, so I think the cost element and the convenience element. And that's what obviously we do. So you can connect with a therapist across the globe. I mean, you're from Mauritius, you can connect with a therapist who is in Mauritius, shares your cultural background, speaks your language, and so on. So there's that much more relatability. Coming back to Hati. So you've started the business, you've got few viral videos, bootstrapped. Did you do all that by yourself, or do you now have a team, or you did that without a team? It's just you.
It's just me, and I still work full time.
Wow. Oh, wow. Oh my God. Okay, do tell. How are you managing? Because I mean, this is so you've got 2 full-time jobs basically now.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I have a dog, so I'm just very busy as a person. The thing is, and I get really frustrated when people say this, they're like, you're not committed to your business because you're not in it full time. The cost of living in London is astronomical, right? Like, unless you can go move in with your family, or, you have a nest egg, running a business is not like my goal is to get it to profitability as quickly as possible, but it's a dating app. It's a numbers game. Like, we made revenue in the first 10 days, but not enough revenue to sustain me. So, but I'm passionate enough about it that I'm willing to do it in my mornings, my evenings, my weekends, and it's just me.
I think that's a very important message, by the way, because, and I think that's the absolute right way to do it. I did it in a similar manner. So I was still in the property sector. I was still earning money. I was still working whilst I started this business. So I bootstrapped, but I also bootstrapped because I had enough money to put food on the table.
Yeah.
I think that's really important, because already this is very stressful. The last thing you want is then that scarcity mindset, and you don't have money, and there's just unnecessary. So you will not be able to operate.
And that's what, and I to anyone out there who wants to found a business, like, do not put your life at risk. Like you cannot build a business from the streets. And I say this to people over and over and over and over again. Like, is it perfect doing it on top of a full-time job in banking? Absolutely not. Is it better than doing it literally living on the street, or trying to figure out where to live? No, that just, we're not all fortunate enough to have, a huge amount, but I promise you can do it. And I know it sounds obscene, and I'm very, very fortunate. I know that I'm very fortunate. I have a great banking job that enables me to fund my own business, and I'm not for a second taking that for granted. And it's not for everyone. Balancing both is not for everyone. And my friend who is staying with me at the moment, because she broke her collarbone, was like, you just work all of the time. And I was like, yeah. But that's the reality. It's not what you see on Instagram. It's not what you see on TikTok. It is, I wake up at 4:45 in the morning. I do not have an ice bath. I do not do, 3 hours of yoga and then write my daily, I don't do that. I wake up, I walk my dog, I get on my laptop, I answer user query after user query after user query. I figure out what's gone wrong with the product. I check every single day that's happened in the app. I work with our partners to make sure that they're I do a series of things that are not glamorous. My banking job is way more glamorous than being a founder. As a founder, I am, BD and an AE and an admin assistant and
the janitor.
And it is not glamour. It's this whole they're like, are you the CEO? I'm like, no, there's nothing to be a CEO of, right? I'm not even a founder at this point. I have an app. Okay. Whether that's a business or not, we can also debate that for a while. But I just think we've over glamorized this thing that I spend a lot of time just QAing my own app, right? I'm going through finding errors, doing all this stuff. I'm putting up TikTok videos and recording myself, and I hate doing that. And I'm editing videos, and it's not what everyone tells you it's going to be. But if it's a thing that you're most passionate about, it'll still be the best day.
And I strongly also believe when you have the right intent, you do attract the right people in the right circumstances. But you need that purpose because this is relentless and it's a long game. But also talking about being crappy, so over the past 7 years, we've come very close to not having enough money to keep the lights on. I have had stress and anxiety so many times where I didn't have enough money to make bank for salaries. And that's like the worst thing because I'm cognizant of the fact that
It's not just you, it's everyone else.
yeah, but also, we have a lot of mature people in the business where they've got kids and I mean, people's livelihoods depend on this company. Kids go to school because of this company. It's like, oh my God, like it's just pressure on top of pressure. So, but we've also been the most creative and most of the pivots and like the aha moments have come from a place of scarcity when we didn't have anything. And on the contrary, on the flip side, whenever we had some money in the bank, we've done, I wouldn't say taken stupid decisions because maybe it was my decision. I don't want to call it stupid. No, but in a reality, I mean, we spend, got this big, large agency without taking any names, spend £250,000 and got zero, literally zero, not revenue, leads, zero leads. So we've done that as well. Why? Because you have money in the bank. Since then, we've not spent any, and this is leads galore. You know what I mean? So I think it's also money is the lifeline of every business. I'm also not saying you don't need you need revenue, and it depends on the strategy that you have as a founder. Do you want to raise? You don't want to raise, and raising is also not for everyone. Maybe not every business.
Yeah.
Not every business is also investable. So let's understand that. But not having money sometimes is also a superpower.
100%. But I would also say one of the big things with raising is it takes a huge amount of time. You've done it how many times?
Yeah.
So,
I'm actually going through it now.
But you pick, right? Like you've got, not to sound like Molly May or Kim Kardashian, but you've got 24 hours in a day.
Correct.
Like you can either spend 20 of them, chasing investment, or you can spend 20 of them on your clients and your product and all the rest of it. And I think when you're a solo founder like I am, like especially at the start, like all of your time has to be on getting this thing that is just an idea in your head to a point where you've proven it out, right? Because also like I will feel way more comfortable now sitting in front of people being like, please, can I have some money? I've proven I can make revenue in 10 days. It took Bumble 2.5 years, Tinder 2.5 years, Hinge 5.5 years, and I've done it in 10 days on my own with a full-time job. I feel way more comfortable in that position than what I probably would have felt like, which is I was begging for money. Now I'm like, well, this is an opportunity for you. Like I'm giving you an opportunity to be part of something that is going to shape like the way we connect and the way we speak. But I've proven it now and I've proven it on my own. And if you think that if I'm not a safe bet at this point, when I've done it on my own by myself and gotten it to revenue and product, that's your loss. Because if you can't see that this is a great opportunity, then continue funding everything else.
I love that point, and I'll tell you why I love that point. I love that point because what founders typically, and I've seen this with a lot of founders, especially in the early stages when you're trying to raise, you play from a scarcity mindset because you're asking for money.
Yeah.
And none of us want to ask for money,
No.
but what we need to, I think flipping the script is super important. VCs, people with money, VCs, are their fundamental job is to find a good operator. So understanding that fact, I think, is super important. That confidence is very important. And that confidence that allows you to flip the script where, okay, if they don't find me as an operator, they don't make money.
Yeah.
They only make money when they deploy capital. They don't make money if the capital is sitting in the bank.
Yeah.
So I think that scarcity mindset turning into abundance, where I will be able to make the money, that changes
everything.
And you'll see how that conversation changes, and also the relationship between the VC and you as a founder changes because you're also playing from that power position.
And I also think it's the knowing that you can bootstrap it as well. It's like, so like, I feel like sometimes, and I think this becomes harder as you grow, but you are on the lifeline, right? Like you were saying, like, if you don't raise the money at that point, you can't pay everyone's salaries. Like, it will be like, and this is what I always say to people, like, I can continue to bootstrap this for the rest of time, right? Like, I have a good salary, I can keep pumping into the business. There's nothing to stop me doing that. It will take me longer to get to where I want to go. Your money I'm not trying to raise money to just like, have money. I'm trying to get it to the point of acceleration. Like, but I can also continue doing this. I'll continue. I figured out how to seemingly deal with TikTok now, but like, you get to that point where you're like, you're not choosing between like begging for money and not having money. You're choosing between doing it your way and doing it your way faster. And that's quite a fun place to be.
So so it's been how long you've been running? So when a lot to your life? Yeah.
14th February.
Oh, wow. Or was that by design?
Yeah, obviously. You never miss a good marketing ploy. But it's the day that, I don't know how you feel about Valentine's Day when you're single, but like, yes, it's a corporate holiday and all the rest of it, but you can't see your friends on Valentine's Day because every restaurant is like 3 times the price and has hearts everywhere. So it just forces everyone to be lonely. Even if you're in a relationship, you're like, well, I can't go out today. Or like, there's this whole thing around it. And I just, so we've reclaimed it.
So Hati now, so you said 4,000 people already signed up, and Hati, obviously, for everyone listening, your app then calls the 2 people, so pairs them and then calls the 2 people simultaneously. You get X number of minutes to talk on the call, right? And then off the back of that, if you think you want to take this forward, then you do. How do you monetize?
So a couple of things we've changed just to... So
Okay.
The way traditional dating apps work is you see photos of people, right? So we actually make you listen to a voice note of that person before you see their photos, because psychologically it changes how you view their photos. So we're trying to get away from these like one-dimensional profiles, which are just photos of people. We encourage people to put a video up as well, so to like, make them a bit more interesting to look at. And then, so you tell us, you sync your calendar, update your availability. When there's a connection between the 2 of you, we auto schedule a 5-minute call. It goes into your diary on the app and it goes into your diary on your calendar. We call you both at the time, so you don't have to exchange numbers with each other, which is also very good, a safety aspect. And then the phone goes dead at 5 minutes. And I had a user message me after one of their dates. They were like, it really does go dead at 5 minutes. I was like, yeah, that's the point. That's the premise of it. Because also, so before I built the app, I don't believe in throwing my money down the drain. I went on Bumble, Hinge and Tinder, and every time I'd match with someone, I'd say, do you want to jump on a call? Because everyone has this thing of like, people don't answer the phone. I'm like, we speak on the phone more than any other generation because all we do is sit on Teams calls. Like, we are the generation of like, no other generation had that, right? Like, our generation, we were texters. We had brick phones, plays Snake.
Correct.
Like, we're the ones that, like, the new generation, their whole thing is Snapchat. That's all voice and video.
Yeah.
Or TikTok. Voice, like, we have this they don't want to answer a phone from a stranger, absolutely. But if they want to speak to you, they're the gamers, for God's sake. They're on games. Or, like, we have this massive... But I believed that. I was like, no one's going to want to talk on the phone, so let me test it. I did it with over 100 people. And what I found was I pretty much know if I liked someone within 3 to 5 minutes, or like enough that I'd want to keep chatting with them. Or I would know definitely that I didn't want to. But I'd be stuck on these like 40, 50-minute calls being like, how do I get off of this? And then they'd text me and be like, hey, would love to meet you in person. And I just want to ghost them. So I kind of designed it based on my own experience of testing it on all of these other apps, because it was never meant to be 5 minutes. It was never meant to have the follow on afterwards. But I did it because I saw all these problems when I was testing it. So you have the original 5-minute call. When you go back in the app after it, you have to choose if you want to speak to that person again or end it forever. If you want to speak to them again, you can either do a longer video call or you do an in-person date. And then we book the date for you. We send you to a vetted partner, because there's a huge safety aspect for women, right? Like, we don't always feel comfortable going to meet a stranger. We know where you are. The restaurant knows that you're sent by us. So there's a huge safety factor to all of that I think makes people a lot more comfortable. And we take the commission from the restaurant, which is how we can make revenue so quickly.
Oh, interesting. So you don't charge the user? Oh, wow. Interesting.
So I'm a big believer in add value to the user and get revenue from that perspective. So we're also integrating with dating coaching, mental health, all of that. So it all exists in one ecosystem, because then we can drive your data insights. So we show over time, we'll get better with this, to like show you your insights on your behavior and that kind of stuff, which we can then feed back into making you a better data. And then having an ecosystem that isn't just about dating, but it's about making us better at human connection. Like one of the things I really want to do if we do raise money is a bit like Bordy. It was really funny when you said that. I want to do practice 5-minute calls with AI that give you feedback.
Oh, interesting.
So like if you're nervous about, speaking to a stranger
Right.
call, you can practice a couple of times with AI. AI can be like, oh, okay, well, why don't you say this? Or like, this was amazing. Or like, really play on this. And it's using that. And that, because I don't want to replace human connection with AI. That's not my thing. But I want to use AI to enhance the way that we support people to have their relationships, right? Like we will have so much data on user behavior and I want to give that back to users in a helpful way to say like, hey, you typically like this kind of profile. This profile likes you. Why don't we change your behavior slightly and see if you have a higher success rate?
Interesting. I love that.
Thanks.
So, I mean, you said if you raise, I'm not sure if it's if or when.
Yeah.
If that's the strategy, like if you really want to raise or not. But I mean, in general, you did speak about you want this company to change into something else. What is the next 3 years looking like for Hati?
Go international. So I think like one of the really annoying things about organic is I'm letting a lot of people down. So people will download the app. Like we've got a lot of people in Portugal and the US and Australia who are messaging me, being like, when is it coming to us? And like, I have people like outside of London being like, hey, I've downloaded your app, but like, I really want to use it. There's no one in my, like, and that's one of the really annoying things about the app is like, you have to, of dating apps, it's a marketplace, but it's a hyper localized marketplace, right? So I have all of these people now messaging me and it's lovely. And I've had some really beautiful messages, but like, you need mass acquisition in one area for it to work. So like for me, my sole focus for the next 3 years is just getting that. Like I would love to finish the UK in a year and just like be like, right, the UK is kind of set and it will run itself and we'll get it profitable in a year and that will, roll on and then like grow as quickly as possible internationally. Because I think like we put like the 3 viral TikTok videos I've had are me explaining the concept of an app to a stranger on the street. That's all it was. It was a 1-minute video, exactly like I just explained it to you. And every single one of them has got over 250,000 views.
Wow. Oh my God.
So there's like, I know that this is something people want. I've had over 600 calls with our users in the app. So everyone that joins the app gets to have a 5-minute call with me.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I live by my values.
Talk about doing things you can't scale.
But not everyone wants it.
Which is great.
Great, yeah.
Especially in the beginning when you're building the foundation.
But my goal is every single person that ever joins this company will have to set aside 2 hours a week to speak to users. So if you want to submit a user query on Hati, you can either do the form or you can book a call with me. Or you can just book a call with me and you join the app. But to win in B2C, you have to understand your customer and you have to build for them. So you have to talk to them.
I love that. Perhaps what would be one of the biggest questions people would ask in the comments and they wish I would ask you, are you in a relationship?
No, I'm single. That's why I built the damn app. Because I can't meet anyone. Yes, very single.
I get.
Haven't been on a date in like 9 months.
Maybe Hati can help.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I built her for me anyway. Yeah, I'm really hoping she does.
You've come a long way. Long way since, we spoke about your childhood.
So have you. You've gone further.
Oh, no. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I try. But yeah, no, really. I mean, hats off to you. You've come a long way. I didn't even know you're bootstrapping and you have a full-time job. Like, that's just, wow, that's huge salute. What would you tell what was it, 11? 11? No, sorry, 16. How old were you when you left home? 18.
Yeah.
What will you now tell your 18-year-old self off the back of everything that you've achieved today?
So when I was between the age of probably like 9 and 15. Have you ever heard the song Hero by Mariah Carey? I used to cry myself to sleep listening to that song over and over and over again. And I have been my own greatest hero. So I think it's really weird because the first time I heard that song after I left home, I was in Marbella with a friend and I couldn't stop crying. It came on and I had to leave. It was such a visceral like it just takes you back. But that song is all about you being your own hero and no one else is going to come and save you. And, you know, like when everything feels like the worst, you can rely on yourself. And I think it's very funny to see it now because, you know, like I have stood on my own 2 feet and I've, you know, been really fortunate. I bought my own flat. Like I've had an incredible career. I have this amazing opportunity to launch my own business and really change something that dramatically impacts people. So.
That's beautiful. Oh, congratulations. You've come a long way. I wish you all the best for the future.
Yeah.
The 3 years and 30 years more. I mean, Hati really, I believe, is solving a problem. I really, like I said, I envy you for starting this business. I think it's just
Come annoy me if you ever get bored of stuff. Come on down.
Well, thank you for the offer. Maybe I will. But
Like,
no.
guys, HR's not for me. I'm actually going to go follow my passion of dating. Sorry, can you guys figure it out? But thank you for having me. It's a real honor.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. It was an absolute pleasure, and I wish you all the best. Hopefully, we do round 2 and round 3.
Yeah.
Different topics we know to talk about.
Once you've raised and
Once I've finished, yes, exactly. But no, all the best. All the best.
You too.